But growing up had taught her a few things. One lesson being that classes didn't mix well, even in today's all but egalitarian England. Though he wasn't dating the daughter of an earl anymore, there was still his mother. She was proof enough the classes should mix only when both parties wanted to be in the same one. Rebecca had far too much work to be dwelling on such irrelevant things. Directing her attention back to her computer screen, she pulled up her email. The first one she noticed was from a college friend about meeting at a club in London this weekend. Another event Rebecca would be sure to skip. She skimmed the content, part of her admiring the busy city life her friends had chosen, part of her knowing she'd followed the right path in staying out here in the country. Before long, her gaze returned to the window, hearing the crunch of gravel beneath a car. Quentin Hollingsworth had arrived. She imagined the estate caretakers, Helen and William Risdon, going out to greet him, welcoming him home. Unwillingly, she glanced at the bottom drawer of her desk, where she kept the newspaper society pages she couldn't seem to resist. It was silly of her to have kept so many clippings, except that it all pertained to the family connected to the estate she ran. Keeping a scrapbook of their lives was part of her job as steward of their legacy. Preservation was more patriotic than personal. In that drawer was Quentin Hollingsworth's recent history, from his political work to his not-so-private breakup with Caroline Norley. Rebecca couldn't think of Quentin without remembering all of that. She returned to her email, reading a message from a teacher who had visited recently and was thanking Rebecca for bringing their Victorian heritage to life for the 24 children she'd guided that day. These were Rebecca's favourite notes, ones that proved her work made a difference. If the Featherby were awarded, she could spend more effort in attracting such groups. They didn't pay as well as business banquets or weddings, but to Rebecca, educating children was far more important. Good afternoon, Rebecca. Quentin Hollingsworth looked tall and strong, even with a massive doorway behind him. His broad shoulders filled out a casual, somewhat crumpled beige linen suit, a stark contrast to his dark hair. Welcome home. She quickly averted her gaze and shifted the chair closer to her desk. Her battlement, safe behind the mahogany. It had been nearly 3 months since she had spoken to him. He trusted her so thoroughly with the running of the hall that he almost never checked in. If she was to have her way, though, that must change. She alone couldn't prove the value of the hall in its current public state. She would need his help. I see you've single-handedly held down the roof. Hardly single-handedly. Rebecca thought of William and Helen, who lived in the estate home on the grounds and supervised most household needs, and the education staff members who came on tour days to create an authentic Victorian atmosphere. Not to forget the many maids and repairmen going in and out, the land agent who oversaw the crops, nor the head gardener who lived in the village but spent most of his waking moments making sure Hollingsworth Hall lived up to its reputation as one of the finest garden spots in the United Kingdom. Without you, Quentin said as he neared the desk, I'm sure the place would fall to ruin, no matter how big a staff. And how is your mother, Quentin? Rebecca didn't really want to know, unless Lady Elise Hollingsworth had something to do with his visit. To close the hall to the public. She's well, I hope? Yes, she is well, he replied. At the cottage for the summer. Rebecca nodded. Despite the cosy term for the Hollingsworth estate, inherited from his mother's aristocratic side of the family,